The question that the world has tonight is, naturally, what's going on with NASCAR? Do you remember a few weeks ago there was that whole situation with Bubba Wallace and the noose that turned out not to be a noose?
Was it a noose?
Yeah, I believe I recall that. Yes.
Isn't that like kind of a big deal if they're like, oh, we found out it wasn't a noose? You're like, yeah, but it looks like a noose. You might want to keep that in mind when putting it near a black guy's locker. Is that like what was that thing they were talking about, Bob? Because like it's weird.
A noose looks very specific, right?
Right.
Yeah, you have to tie it very specifically with like
right.
The
loop.
The rings going down and then the loop.
Right.
Yeah. Apparently that had been there for a while. And these guys are randomly assigned garage stalls, and it just so happened that was there last fall when they raced there last fall. And these guys are randomly assigned those garage stalls, so it wasn't like somebody did it out of hatred towards Bubba Wallace. That now we found that out, but still it was there. Why would you tie and it's a garage pull down loop? Why would you tie it like that? So
that's
there's
my point.
To be said about that. But
yeah,
it was
kind of weird.
Just trying to be cool, and then he like forgot the whole like racism thing. He was
well,
like,
maybe
shit, that's Bubba's.
Yeah. So it also I think still it still resonates because it brings a lot of attention. Because Bubba Wallace, he's one of my favorite drivers on the circuit. I think he's really good. He doesn't drive in the top tier equipment. The 43 car, the Richard Petty car, is not what it once was. It's not the top equipment in NASCAR. They're underfunded. They don't have any teammates. They have to rely on Richard Childress Racing in order to get their engines and the technology involved. They rely heavily on RCR, Richard Childress Racing, and so he is a little bit of he's not going to like he's basically like if he runs like he should be running like between 10th and 15th every weekend, and if he can get a top 10, that's a good weekend. So but he's a good driver, and I follow him on Twitter, and when he posts something, you look at some of the comments after he posts something, and it's horrific. We have a long way to go in this country with racism, and quite honestly, he did not want to be the face of this. He's not some activist. He is a race car driver. All he wants to do is drive a race car, and because he is a black race car driver, he has to then be the face of that, and he's taken it on. He's done a very good job with it for a guy who I think he's 27 or 28 years old. I don't think when I was 27 or 20-year-old, I could handle that. I wouldn't.
No way. I still went to bed.
Yeah. He's getting coached a little, but it's still tough. The guy just wants to drive a race car. Let him drive a race car. Who cares?
Yeah.
Because when you get in a 3,600-pound stock car, everybody's the same damn size. The car weighs the same. It's all about driving. And yeah, some cars are better than others, but it's all the same. And it's racing. Who gives a shit? I don't care what color they are. And I don't like him because he's black. I like him because I like how he interacts on Twitter. I like his personality. And quite honestly, I like how he races.
He's a good guy. Yeah. I saw on Twitter, it showed up in my feed because I follow you, Bob, and some lady said something to NASCAR like, oh, you're getting rid of the Confederate flag? Well, I'm out of here. And you're like, bye-bye. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. And then John said something, and I tweeted it, and all these people were like, fuck you, lady. And I was like, it was so funny. And she was like a doctor or something like that. She was just getting like killed on Twitter. And I was like, why say anything?
I'm glad that is the pervading factor now, and that we're pushing those people out. And if you watch a race to watch a race. You watch a race for the drivers you like. You root for your driver. You watch a race to watch a good race too. I have my favorite drivers, but I also like to see a good race. If you go there to fly your flag, you're not a true race fan. Get the hell out of here.
Right, like we don't go to the like Sixers games with like the Union flag, with the 13 stars or whatever.
Yeah.
Like we
Could
don't.
you imagine?
That's why I just think the fact that we're having a civilized civil war, like this is like a new age type of civil war. Like we're not on the battlefield with muskets. We're like negatively affecting people psychologically for like years to come in their life over a fucking sheet of a pillowcase. A fucking thing that like in Game of Thrones they fight over with their different flags and animal sigils. Like grow the fuck up. We have one flag, like it matters. It's a stupid flag. Like grow up. Like don't you have children and like a family that you should probably be concerned about instead of the stupid flags?
Not
I
just
mean, I love flags. I love all the different flags. They're fun. That's all they are.
Yeah.
Right, it's fun.
Not just that, but if you're so concerned about the Confederate flag, that's fine. I don't agree with that. I think it's hate. It's not heritage. I think those flags should be flown on the battlefields where they actually were carried to point out where the troop things were, and maybe not even there.
And
but
put it in a museum.
Exactly. Put it in a museum.
And in books, pictures.
It's not heritage. But hey, if you like that flag, fly it outside your house. Nobody's telling you can't fly it. But NASCAR is a private venue. Their tracks are owned by the sanctioning body. It's a private venue, and they can tell you what to do. So if you want to go see a race, you can't fly your flag. Stop whining and bitching.
Right, it's just a flag.
I think if I was a teenager and I was like raised in the South, I would probably be like, yeah, like I'm a rebel. Like we really actually won that war. And then as I grew up, I'd be like, oh God, I really enjoy rap music and the NBA, and every black person I meet is pretty fun to interact with.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't need to do this.
I'm gonna let go
find it
of all
offensive.
that. And I'm gonna let go of all that. Yeah,
it's
right.
funny.
It seems to upset them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Bob said before. You should put these flags and these monuments in a museum.
Yeah.
But because that would get these people to actually go to like a museum, because they're not going to the museums. I can promise you that.
No.
So if you want to educate these people, throw the Confederate flag in a museum.
Yeah.
And maybe you'll teach them something. But they're not going to go to a museum. They can't even read.
No, if it means that much to you, you'll take your kid to this museum and explain, hey, our ancestors were not so great, but here's who they are, and look how far we've come, and learn from something. But they're incapable.
And just because they fought for the Confederacy, and even some of the Confederate generals, not all of them were slave owners, but they weren't bad people. They fought for a wrong cause, and that should not be celebrated. It was an insurrection against this country. It's like naming one of our new army bases Bin Laden, camp.
Right.
So
it's like
naming, John Bell Hood base here in Mississippi.
And I'm all for taunting your opponent, by putting Chief Joseph's head on our stamps. It's like, didn't we wipe out all of his people and then we slap his head on a stamp?
Yeah.
Chief Joseph, good reference. Excellent. I didn't even know who that was until 2 nights ago.